Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. So today I'm going to show you the interview I did with Nick Byrd. Did a video with him a few days ago. And so me and Nick are just going to sit down and talk about how we have cut out a living for ourselves with music. So he has a business buying and selling like gear, like guitars, amps, keyboards, anything you need to make music. And me, obviously, with my record store. So I just want to kind of preface the video after editing it and looking through it. I was afraid you guys might think that we're trying to be like know-it-alls or whatever. Nick and I both have started businesses recently in the grand scheme of things the past couple years. And so, you know, I started dealing records in 2010, but just recently opened up my brick and mortar shop. Since then, I have learned so much about people and business and all that stuff. And he is in that same process. He's a little bit earlier than I am in that phase. But this is just kind of what we've learned and what's worked for us. And so take from it what you will. But I hope you can see it as just us trying to talk about what really works for us in business and what we've learned in this short period of time. And also, like, if you're starting any sort of small business whatsoever, music related or not, I think these are some things that you might be able to glean some help from. So anyways, I just wanted to preface that. So I didn't want you guys to think that we are sitting here acting like we know everything about business because we are businessmen. It's not that. It's just, we have some values that we've learned in our businesses. We like to help share with those who are getting starting their businesses. So thank y'all so much for watching. Here's the interview. So this morning we have Nick Byrd, dear friend of the shop and friend of mine. I've known Nick for 12 years probably.
Yeah, something
at
like
least,
that.
Well, I mean, so like 11 and a half years ago, the drummer who was supposed to play drums at my wedding broke his arm and Nick filled in. That's when I remember us like actually talking, but I knew you before that. We played music in some of the same circles. So anyways, Nick has a wildly successful business. Where he
you
is,
do. You think I do? You do.
Wildly successful business selling gear in Nashville, music gear. And so we're going to talk about like making money as a musician, like on the side. Like I think a lot of people end up coming up with some really interesting ideas, being musicians and being desperate for money and like using their creativity not to create art but to create money. I think that's I always love to see how, like the guys that work here, they have to come up with creative ways to teach lessons or deliver papers or flip comic books or whatever to make it happen. So Nick, I've watched him and his business grow a lot over the past couple years, and we're just gonna talk about that. Yeah. So
I'd love to.
I don't even know where to start. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's see. So I got a gear finding business. It started as a gear finding business. It started from a love of music. It started from being a musician first. I think that's something that I've really tried to remember recently. And it has now turned into. I just launched a website a few weeks ago. It's going really well. Got people all over Nashville, all over the country, all over the world at this point, kind of tuned in, and they are actively buying things, reaching out, we're communicating. It's really exciting because it's not, I never thought that it would get to this point. And I don't know, I appreciate you calling it successful.
I'm looking at the growth, man, from like day one to now. You've grown faster than me. I mean, you've been killing it. So
it's been a lot of learning, as I'm sure you know. It's you're always learning new stuff, and that's something I've realized recently that's really important, is always being willing to learn and grow and try new stuff, because as we all know, like, things can really change in the course of like a few months or something. So it's been interesting. A lot of the growth has happened over the last year, in the middle of a global pandemic, which is really interesting. I think a lot of people have been, on Instagram more, and I'm very active on there with my page. And
At ByrdFinds, ByrdFinds, at ByrdFinds.
At ByrdFinds, that's it. And so people started reaching out more and more, and they wanted stuff, and I started, really, I had time to be at home and really, really I was already finding all kinds of stuff all over the place, but I really had more time to sit down and dedicate time to like fulfilling people's requests and sort of brainstorming about how I could expand and serve more people. So yeah, that's sort of where it's at now. But in a nutshell, like I said, it started off with being a musician first and an engineer, loving the gear and knowing that people need gear to make music, and it helps when they have good gear.
But they want gear more than anything. More than needing it, they want it.
Yeah, they do want it.
I want more guitars, and I don't even play guitar ever. I want more pedals now. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to have that stuff there when you're ready to use it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think a big thing is when you're ready to make music, you want to have something that's quality. You don't want something that is not working, because then you can't do the one thing that you want to do.
Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself why. I mean, there's so many people doing it. So many people selling gear and flipping gear and stuff. I mean, and there's so many shady people. Like, I mean, I've bought guitar amps from people, and like a few months down the road, I'm like, this guy screwed this up, and like, he knew about it, but I didn't. There's a lot of people doing it. Why is yours working? It's because you care about like who you're selling it to. I mean, like for me, I have people that come in here that have antique shops and stuff, and they buy like armfuls of records, and I know they put double the price on it in their antique malls, and I don't like that very much because I want stuff for people here. So it's not all about this instant sale. Like, sure, they spend a lot of money and they pay the full price for stuff. I'm talking down, but it's like I want that for people that are going to enjoy it. I want that. It's not all about that money at that particular time. It's about making sure that you are helping to cultivate a community of people that are enjoying music and playing music, or you're spawning their creativity. I mean, one of my favorite things about getting records out is like this is going to influence them to maybe make a record, or like all that stuff. Spawns creativity in people's minds, and that's a good thing. It's a healthy thing for people. So anyways.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You are finding, like, I don't know if we've explained what you do. So you find gear.
Right, okay. So
and you get it to the people that want to use the gear.
Yeah, so
Guitars.
You're right.
Hips.
I'll go back a little bit, because how it started was, and I still provide this service, but it's a little bit less in the spotlight than the other part, which is now buying and reselling. So it started off with people would reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for this particular item, or I'm looking for something like this. I'm looking for a drum kit. I'm looking for a set of cymbals. I'm looking for something I want to start recording, a microphone or something like that. And I would use my knowledge and, look in the places where I normally would find those things. And I'll connect them. But I think the key factor, especially in the beginning and still now, is the price. So I wasn't just finding something, at the full price, because I also believe that there is value in paying less and finding things. And so, like, in effect, people have more money, because they're not spending it all on the thing. So I started off with that, and I would also, on my Instagram page, I would basically source things and represent them and say, hey, this is for sale. If you want to buy it, reach out to me. And then I would just charge a small fee for my time finding that stuff. I built a pretty big audience doing that, and so now what I'm doing, and I've been doing this since like August, is kind of when I jumped into it. August 2020, I am now actively buying things all the time, and I'm sourcing things and finding things, and I'm whether they're local, whether they're coming from, I'm buying stuff from all over the world at this point. Some other stuff I have been offering is piano moving and maintenance.
Oh my gosh.
That's been really successful. A lot of people in the Nashville area have been connected with pianos. I was finding a lot of free pianos, low-cost pianos, and a friend of mine, Brandon, is a piano tuner, so we started working together with another friend of ours, Tim, who was sort of specializing in the transport, and we all worked together to make that happen. I think we moved like anywhere between like 15 to 25 pianos in the last like 3 months in the Nashville area.
That work in while you're young, man.
Yeah.
And you're old like me.
Well, we do it smart, you know. We take care of our bodies, and then I also do consignment sales. So, so people were coming to me and saying, "Hey, you know, will you post my gear on your page? I want to get rid of it to get something else." Or like, "Hey, I want to buy that thing you posted. I don't have the money. Can you sell this for me?"
That's smart.
So I started consignment, and that is currently called Bird Sells. That might morph into something else soon, but that's sort of what I do. I buy and resell things. I find things for people, connect them with it, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun getting to go out and find things and be like, this is my job to buy this.
It is like, it's awesome to like this morning before you got here, I was like looking around the shop. I was like, man, I built this. Like, this is my job. I like it, you know. And I was like, it's like really special to kind of build something of your own. You know, I was raised with the mentality that like you work somewhere really hard, and then like you move up. Not my dad didn't teach me that, but like, you know, society, like you move up in the company, and then you get like, you know, 401k or whatever, and you like, you know, all this stuff. And you know, going to college and like getting those jobs, I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. I'm just there. Everybody, there's all different types of people. Some people, they thrive in a position to where they're going to be moving up in the company and they have stability and stuff. I do not. I thrive when like I am like, you know, hustling and grinding and doing my own thing, you know. And that's how you are. We're like-minded that way. So what forced you to do this? Were you working a job before that?
I've worked some jobs that that are the reason why I do this.
Okay, yeah.
Or at least partly the reason. So yeah, there's been quite a number of those moments. But to be completely honest about it, like I made the decision a long time ago. I remember when I was younger. So my dad has always worked in corporate America. He's really good at it. Like he's had a great career, and he's sort of carved his way out in his sort of way, which is really inspiring. I've watched that, but from a young age, I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be working in an office. Like it's just not me. Like I can't be caged. I won't be caged." Because I realized that I had a choice about it, you know? And so that was one thing. There was another period of my life where I was working at this warehouse job, and it was good at first, but then it started over time, like the work environment started to become really toxic, and I just realized that I was really sort of wasting my time and my energy, and that also had limited time and energy. So I worked there. I worked at a pizza shop for a while. That was kind of fun. I liked getting to eat free pizza all the time. And I worked as a cashier, but I wasn't very good at it. And I was like, man, like I don't know if this is it. Like, I mean, I knew that it wasn't.
Nothing's it. You know that.
I knew that it wasn't it. The whole time I just wanted to be playing music.
And you were, right? You were.
I was doing those in between, like touring. I was doing those jobs. I was never like, hey, I'm going to like go work a regular 9 to 5. Like that was never an option for me. The closest thing to that is being an engineer, you know, and like working in a studio all day, which I've done that as well, and I still do that. But
you have a degree, right?
Yeah, I have a degree in audio engineering. So there's been a number of moments where and it sort of just keeps snowballing, right? It's like, especially at this point, like if everything just folded today, I just have so much knowledge. I could like, go buy and sell something else, or like figure something else out how to make money. But I just have made like a series of decisions that, based on my experience, but based on like what I'm interested in, to say like I have to go against the grain in some way because of what I want, like because of how much of my time and freedom that I desire. I can't. I'm not gonna like give it away to someone else, in the way that a lot of people end up doing over the course of their life.
Yeah. When you start to realize like when you're young, you have to work those jobs. You have to make pay your dues or whatever. You got to work those jobs. And when you start realizing like what I put my energy towards is either building something for someone else or building something for me. It's either making you're still making money, but like it's like, to me, I saw that like I could be making money and building something for me and my kids and my future, or I could just work for somebody else and build it for them, and then I get off work. See, that's the trade off. Like either because the times I've worked those jobs, I have had security, and then I get off work and I'm done. I go home and I'm like chilling. Don't bring it home with me. Yeah. Like I'm just done, Yeah. But like when I'm doing this, like I'm never off. Like I'm ever like middle of the night, I'm getting emails. Like I got this record collection. I'm like, I'll be there at 6 a.m. like or whatever. Like it's always going. But at the same time, you're building something to where one day you'll be able to chill, and that money will make itself for you or whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of facets to it, but like. It depends on, I guess, what type of person you are. But like, yeah. So you played, I know you played Lonely Biscuits forever, and I loved it. Man, I was at every show. You didn't see me, but I was there. I was at a lot of Charlotte shows, not everyone, but I made a lot of the shows.
I remember you being there.
And then are you still in Bully?
Yeah.
How's that?
It's going great. We just got back to rehearsals. Hitting the record, and dude, I'm really excited. It's sounding very good. It's feeling very good, and got tour dates for later in the year. Some of the shows are already sold out.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited to get back to it. I'm glad that the world's sort of opening up back up again. So yeah, I'm just excited to get back to playing music.
Yeah, so like, so I think like the whole point of what I was trying to do with this video is like, I think a lot of musicians are always looking for that thing, to make them money while they're trying to fund their life and still play music. Like a lot of people don't know, like that was me. I wanted to play music. It never took off for me. I was probably not ever really good enough, but like I wanted that for my life. When I was in high school, they were like, you got to prep for your SATs. I'm like, screw the SATs. I'm going to be a rock star. Yeah. I remember that coming out of my mouth. And it never materialized into anything. I wrote some songs. They sucked. I played guitar in a lot of bands. It's okay, but throw a rock and you're gonna get hit. You're gonna hit a guitar player who's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I had to come to grips. Like, I'm a mediocre guitar player, and there's a billion of those. I got a wife and kids. I got to make some money. So like within that, I still have never given up the dream that one day I'll record an album. It could happen. But the main thing now is like, having that money for my wife and kids, and like if something were to happen to me, they would have something to fall back on. So yeah, it's always fun to see how their creativity evolves, and I've been watching you and just like super inspired by how you're just doing it, man. I mean, you're at your age. How old are you?
I'm 28.
28, yeah. I mean, you're killing it, doing your own thing. And like people know about you, and like recently, like Nathaniel Ratliff was like, "Hey man, Nick Byrd sent me your way."
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
I sold him some records because he was like, Nick Byrd, and I'm like, that's cool, man. So I'm excited to see what you do in the future with your business, and like, just like I love seeing the gear that you're finding. What's that reel-to-reel recorder studio thing that you found that was like nuts?
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that is that that particular machine and other stuff like that, including there's an MCI console that Prince recorded his first record on, and also Bob Dylan recorded half of Blood on the Tracks on. I knew your eyes were gonna go. I knew that was gonna happen. And that was just right down the street in East Nashville for me. And so, and here's what I'm saying is that both of those pieces and other pieces like that, people, like, they came to me. They came to me and said, "Hey, I want to sell this."
I mean, does that make it worth a lot more?
The history of it?
I mean, I guess it has to, right?
It, ultimately depends. I think, yes, the value goes up for sure. It depends on the seller, because as you know, like, in a market where you're trying to sell things, especially like collectible things, vintage things, the most important aspect of it is your buyer, and like whatever it's worth to them, that's what I think, that's what it's valued at. There's people who have things like this who like way overprice them, and some poor sap or some rich person buys it, and that's fine too. But luckily, both of these things, which I think the 3M machine is still up for sale, if anyone's interested, both of those things, and again other things, the prices were set at reasonable prices. Actually, the MCI console, the gentleman who sold that, he's become a friend of mine now. He, compared to how much work he put into restoring that console, because he put in a lot, like nearly a year of him and his tech, a year of restoring it. They're not easy to work on, like at all. And the accompanying tape machine with it. For what he sold it for, like it was a bargain, like, and so that's inspiring to me to see people in those positions who have equipment like that to want to pay it forward in that way. And him in particular, his name is Ben. He sort of has that spirit. Everything that was in his studio was handpicked and was there for a reason, like the console, and it, like, the way that he was sort of going about selling the stuff and letting it go, it's a process, right? Because he wanted to keep it, but he's moving, and he's just like, I'm not trying to get one over on anybody. I want people to. He said people need to use this.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, this is the Prince console. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what good does this do? Not, and then he's poured a year of his life into it, like dude. Thousands and thousands of dollars.
That's crazy.
His family's looking at him like, "Hey, what's going on?"
Well, I think that, like, because there's two type of dealers, no matter what industry you're in. What goes with records, I know it goes with gear. Like, there's people that will take a record and they'll say, this is a record, it's near mint, I'm putting it up online, and it's going to be, it's a record that's worth $40. That's what I would put it in my shop for. And they're like, it's $125 or $150. That's like the primo tip top price. And then somebody's gonna buy it, and then they sell it, and that's
that drives the market up.
Yeah, it does drive the market up, which whatever. But like, it's that they are always holding out to squeeze every last dime out of that record.
Every last red cent, man. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that.
So for them, it's clear. It's like a little bit sleazy. Like, it's clear that their whole point is to make as much money as they can off that thing. And like, just being in this a year and a half, I've realized that, like, there's certain things that come in that I got to put a little bit higher price tag on it because I got to pay more for it. There's collections that come in like that sometimes, but like, when you're able to turn stuff over really quick, and the money's in the turn always, like, if he sits there and he takes him a month to sell that record, and then I sell 5 for like a little bit less, I'm gonna make more. Like so, like, but the community. If you forget about the money, you forget about like the greed of it and all that stuff. I mean, you obviously have to make money, but if you feed that community feeds you. If you like nurture that community, you look out for your customers, and they see that you're not some sleaze bag. They're gonna bring you stuff. They're gonna bring you friends. They're gonna talk good about you. You got street cred, and like it's that's how you're gonna make money. And the funny thing is, like, if you forget about the money, you're gonna make more.
Yeah.
You know, it's a stupid thing to think about, but like if you forget about like focusing on like having to squeeze every single dime out of every little thing, and you care about the people more, the people are the ones that have the money. So like once you really start to care about them, that's when your business starts to do well. And it's not that you're making more money, it's just that everything's rolling more smoothly. The people see that you care about them, and it's not all about money. And then everything starts rolling better because you're doing it for the right reasons, and it's like an instant karma thing. Like that, just everything's, you know, people want to be somewhere they know people care about them. They don't want to be somewhere like it's all about this record, it's all about the exchange and the money, and that's it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
I mean, because man, yeah, you really touched on a lot of stuff there. Because yeah, I think if you allow yourself to forget about the money and remember that there are, you have to think like more long term. So the thing is, like, money just comes and goes. Like it never, no matter how much you want to stick around, it never sticks around. You know, you
spend every bit of it.
Like seriously, like you really could have like a lot of money one day, and then the next day you'd be like, wow, like where did that all go? And you might not have anything to show for it. But just like to kind of go back to, you know, talking about making money, how you can make money. I think, and to add to what you just said, you got to be okay with not having money, because that's a position that keeps you hungry, where you're like, you get creative, you know, you got to figure it out. And when you're in that position, and you're in the position where you're willing to learn and try stuff with what you have, then when you have more, you can do more, and you can put more you can, like, you already know what works, and you can sort of build up from the ground up. I feel like I've done that a lot, like, because I don't ever have like a lot of money at one point. I'm like decent at saving and investing my money, which is another thing that I think is important people understand, but about how your money can work for you when you're like while you're sleeping and stuff, and how you can put like invest money into certain things and see the fruit of that. But yeah, I just think it's important to, you got to really get creative, because no one's going to just hand you money. And if they are handing you money, you got to question it and be like, what is, so for example, like a record deal, you know, like I think that's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I've been listening to a lot of people in the music industry who are like kind of on the outskirts of it at this point talk about record deals. And I've had a few myself with my band, and I've also, like, I'm around a lot of other people who have them, and so it's just interesting at the end of the day to see what those look like, how it affects the people who get them, what they end up like not, like what they end up wanting and like not getting out of it, the sort of like handcuffs they find themselves in.
Yeah,
we see it on like every, you know, you can scale up to like someone like, again, like Prince, you know, he literally changed his artist name so he could make, and he, like, the reason why he has so many studio albums is because he was trying to make enough to get out of his contract. It's like, we gotta like pay attention to stuff like that. And the game has changed a little bit, or a lot of it actually, is sort of the point, is you know, there's a lot of traditional, and kind of going back to what we were even beginning to talk about, there's a lot of traditional structures and infrastructure that is just outdated and archaic, that we're sort of led to believe is the only way. Like, a lot of people think the only way to be able to buy a house and like be happy is to, you know, go to college, fall into a category, do what everybody else is doing, get a job, work that job for like 30 years. And like, that's just honestly like, and like, there's a lot of people who do that and they're successful and they're happy. Yeah, and I want that. If that's what they truly want, then I want that for them. But
the world would crumble without that.
Right, and that's also a good point. We need people like that who do those things. But at the same time, it just makes me a little sad because I know there's a lot of people who are in those positions who don't want to be doing that, and they don't realize that they have a choice in the matter, and like that's the sad part to me, and why I go so hard with what I do is because you just got to show people that there's another way. You can't, like, at a certain point, you're just like wasting your breath talking about it, trying to motivate other people who they're like, yeah, that sounds good, but like, how does that happen? And it's like, you just got to live it. And like, I think both of us are doing it. Like, you've been very inspiring. Your whole journey with this business has been like wildly inspiring to me, and I like pretty consistently have referenced things you've told me in doing my own thing, because I've hit quite a few walls, figuratively speaking, where I'm like, oh man, I don't have any money, or like I don't have this, or I have that. It's like, dude, you got to figure it out. Like, there's
that advice is like so hopeless to get, but it's so right. You're so right.
You got to figure it out. Like, I got stuff I got to deal with like today, where I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think something else to be said is the more willing you are to put yourself in that position, and you keep in mind the community, is something that I'm really big on. You end up dealing with people who give you grace and space, like when you mess up, right? Because you're gonna mess up. Like I have mistakenly, it's only happened one time actually, but I mistakenly like swapped some shipments. Like, they went like to two different parts of the country. I have sent things in the mail that got broken because I was a little, maybe like didn't do the absolute best packing job on it that I could have. I just did it to the best of my ability, and the result wasn't so great. But because I'm dealing with people who know that I care, when they interface with me and we have to deal with something, they're so much more willing to be like, hey, like, I understand. It doesn't mean that we're not gonna reach a solution. I'm not gonna like make sure that they're taken care of, but it does mean that they understand that mistakes happen and they're not like jumping down my throat and I'm like, whatever might happen from that. So I think it's just really important, whatever you're doing, is to remember that like money is actually like it helps, but it will come if you just really put in the time and effort and like understand that it really is about like just putting in a lot of hard work and understanding what you bring to the table and how you can like basically create, cultivate, and serve a community consistently. Because just like what you said, they will feed you. Like, I have like some of the most consistent customers who are like, they like every post. They're like, hey, I want to buy everything that you post. I love your, they're just like constantly engaging, and that's just really inspiring, because on the days where you don't have any money and like everything's going wrong, knowing that there's people who aren't just in it because you are a record seller or you're just a gear seller or you have things that they like occasionally, but they're like, they see you as a person.
Yeah.
And they see you as part of the community, and they see that you actively contribute to it. That's just like, that can't be stressed enough how important that is to any endeavor, especially like in any independent endeavor where you're just like in the trenches all the time. So I don't know, community I think is like overlooked a lot, the importance of that. I don't think it can be stressed enough.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. What is I know we talked about this before, but like, what does success look like to you?
Success for me is having control over my time and not having to do things that I don't want to do. That's what it looks like for me. Like, and honestly, if you notice, I didn't say anything about money.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because I could care less about the money, like, because I know that I can make money. I can figure that part out. But if I don't have time, I can't make money.
Yeah.
If I don't have freedom, I can't do the things that actually bring me fulfillment. Because the money's not fulfilling.
No.
The freedom that the money gives you is fulfilling.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's real short and sweet, but yeah, success for me is control over my time and control. Yeah, just literally that control over my time.
That's huge. Like my life, I have never had money, like ever. Growing up, broke.
Yeah.
And I worked at Guitar Center. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I worked at this Guitar Center over here in Matthews. And I would always carry my whole paycheck. Like, I would go cash it. I carry my cash, all the cash I had at all times.
Really?
Because people would come in with gear, and the Guitar Center would be like, oh, it's got a ding on it, I don't want it. And then they would, whatever. Sometimes they take it, but sometimes it would be something minor. And I'd see them walk out and be like, hey, what's up? And they're like, well, I didn't want it because, this needs a fret job. It was one time, it was a 74 Strat, American Strat. The guy needed a fret job. And he's like, dude, I just need $300 to pay a bill. And I'm like, I'm taking a break. I'll meet you in the parking lot. And I bought that thing. I got the fret job done for $100. And I sold it for, I can't remember how much, but it was a lot. But I should have kept it. But anyways, and so I started realizing, like, I'm making more money doing this than I'm making, like, my $7.35 an hour or whatever I was making at the time.
Standing behind the counter.
Yeah, dude. I was the guy at the door that checked your receipt. And I'd be like, hey, meet me in the parking lot in 5 minutes. Which that was a fireable offense, and I did get fired. But it was worth it. But I don't know why. I don't even know why I went into all that. But what I'm saying is that, like,
talk about no money and success.
Yeah, like, so like, I always thought, like, money is that's what is gonna bring me some happiness. Like, not even that I want to have a lot of money and, like, buy Rolls Royces and stuff. It's like, I want that security. I want my wife to be proud that she married me, like, stuff like that. Because, like, when we got married really young, and we never had money. We were eating ramen noodles and all that for years. And I was just trying to figure out, like, what it looked like to me, because I could not sit down and work a job 9 to 5. I couldn't do it. And like, I had, like, people in my life like, what is wrong with you? Just chill and, like, work a job. And I'm like, I can't. It's like, my brain won't do it. I can't do it. And so, like, and so I was like, if I could just get something that would make me some money, I would be happy. And then, like, with this, I've been making money. A lot of money comes and a lot of money goes, because, I'm buying so much stuff. So, like, and I'm realizing, like, okay, money, now that I have some, and I'm spending a lot on records. Like, like, last week, I don't know if I think I told you, I spent like 10 grand on records last week. Now that, like, I'm seeing it, it's there, it's coming and it's going, it's fleeting, but it's there. I'm like, well, that's not really even what I want. Like, and I'm realizing, like, what I really want is freedom. And what I really want is nobody, like, breathing down my neck telling me, you got to do this by this time or else, and then I'm like, okay. And so when I have that time, just my personality, when I have that time to where my head is clear and I don't have anyone breathing down my neck, I don't have anybody. You're always going to have somebody giving you a hard time, whether it's the, your taxes or, like, whether it's like a customer that's giving you crap because of something. You're always going to have something. But, like, to not have somebody, like, you're going to get kicked out of your house if you don't do this, you're going to lose your job if you don't do that. Like, if you don't shave that beard, you're going to get fired. Like I've had those conversations with my employers, and I've lost jobs over it. But, like, the freedom of just the way both of our personality types are, I feel like, is, like, being able to kind of say, okay, let's take a step back, have time to evaluate, like, what I really want to do, where I want to go next, brainstorm about, like, ideas and being creative about how you want your business to grow. And, like, also another thing you said, like, about staying hungry. Like once you get to where you're like, I got enough money to pay the bills this month, I'm gonna chill. Like, you know, and then you get that way a little bit, your business stops growing, and so you can't see it as like the money is what's making me content. You have to like reach for something else and always be grinding towards something else. And so like success for me, I was telling you before, like I don't see myself as a successful person yet. I've got a lot of goals I'd like to achieve with my business and like with my personal life, just like things I would like to see happen. And so success is a funny word, but like, you know, tomorrow this whole vinyl thing could crash and then like everybody's trading in all the records and no one wants to buy them. Like that could totally happen. And I would have to pivot to something else, you know? So like success for me is, you know, like you said, freedom is huge with that. You're 100% right. That's exactly what I was thinking, is like not having somebody breathing down your neck telling you what to do all the time. Like that's you know, that's the equivalent of success for me. And that can come in a small way or a big way. But like, I think, you know, it's always a battle trying to figure out what's next for me. Like what's next. If I'm staying stagnant, I get stir crazy, and I know that like I'm not growing right now. I gotta figure the next thing out. Yeah, I cannot like take a week off. That's the way my brain is.
That's how I am, man.
Yeah, I know you are.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna be careful about how I say it, but it's like, I mean, and part of it I have to say is, you know, being connected with technology, there's a healthy level of addiction that goes into it, right? Because you're like, there's like a reward where like for me, I'll post a piece of gear and then it sells. It's like, I'm not as excited about the money part. It's cool that it sold and got my money back and more, but you know, like that's cool, I can pay my bills now. But I get addicted to the feeling of like the instant, like I put something out in the world and I get a result back. And so I noticed that, like, again, in the selling stuff example, if I post something and it doesn't sell immediately, I had to watch myself, because I noticed that I would be like, oh man, like, and then I would like look at the whole thing and be like, what am I doing? Like, this microphone didn't sell. It's been 15 minutes, right? Yeah. And so that's something that's interesting about it that I think is worth mentioning. But and I also wanted to say, I forget why I said that, but I also wanted to say that I also think it's important. You mentioned, you didn't say it in these words, but I think constantly reinvesting into what you're doing is the key. Like, like that's something that's been really inspiring to me, that you've said to me before, just about like the amounts of money that you're putting back into your business. Because for a while I didn't see the value in that. Like I didn't see the value of like investing my own money. You know, I think a lot of people want someone else to give them money so that they can do what they need to do. And like, that's fine. People get loans all the time. The thing is, loans you got to pay back. And a person, like something that comes from you is like, yeah, you should have a plan to like pay yourself back or like have a return on it. But there's something that happens when you pull money out of your pocket to pay for something that is not guaranteed, that you're like investing in your own, but you're investing in your own future. Something happens to where when you get into that rhythm, and you're consistent and you figure out what your lane is and what you're doing, it's really rewarding, because then you know that no matter what it is, your horizons start to broaden, right? Especially specifically in this sort of thing. But I want just to speak more generally about it too. I think it's sort of what I was saying earlier, is like there's so many things you can invest your time and money in. You can learn about, like, dude, go on YouTube. Like, you can learn so.
You're on YouTube right now.
you can learn there's so much free education.
Yeah, man.
There's so many, like, I was listening to a podcast where This woman literally told you from start to finish how to run a profitable Airbnb business. Like, she told you everything you need to know. And so it's interesting when people, with that in mind, it's interesting when people complain about not having access to things or like not knowing how to do something, because in my mind, that is laziness. And like that is, it's not only laziness, but more importantly, it's a choice. Like, you are choosing not to reach for something. You're choosing not to have tangible goals. Because if you're just trying to make money, there's a lot of ways to make money. There's a lot of ways to make money that don't require a whole bunch of you, other than deciding that you're gonna like move in a direction.
Yeah.
And that's like I think it's the hardest part for most people, is like,
going back to what you're saying about like reinvesting your money into your own thing. Like, I've been blessed with, well, blessed and cursed. I mean, I don't even want to look at it with that. Like, when you're starting a small business, I think that for me, like, when I was getting started, like, I didn't want to take out any loans because I didn't want someone breathing down my neck saying, you got to pay this right now. You got to have this payment back right now. You got to do this right now. I wanted my own thing. Like, I wanted to own 100% of my own thing. And like, and so like, I didn't have much to work with, but I multiplied it. Yeah. As many times as I could. I multiplied what I had until it like started snowballing. But like, maybe a month or a few weeks before I opened the shop, I was digging this guy's collection, and he is like in this mansion of a house. Like, he literally does have a Rolls Royce. Like, he's got he is obviously a very wealthy person, and from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. And I'm going through and I'm pulling some stuff out because he just ran out of room. And he's like, hey man, what are you buying so many records for? And I'm like, I'm opening up a shop. And he's one of the first people I told. And he was like, dude, I always wanted to open a shop. And he's like, would you want like a partner? And I'm like, I don't know, man, not really. And he's like, I could bankroll you. He's like, I don't have time to do it, but I could fund it, and then you do it. And then, and I was like, I don't know, man, I'll think about it. And then I remember driving home in my 2001 Ford Expedition that died shortly after that. It was like, had like 900,000 miles on it. I don't know. It had a lot. And like, he called me. He's like, hey man, I thought about it. And he's like, what do you think about like giving me half the business rights, and I'll give you $250,000 to just do like start it. And I was like, and like my mind's saying, he's about to give you $250,000,
$250,000.
But I wasn't gonna be able to put that money in my account.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about, like, it's not like I just got that money. Not only do I not own that money, I don't even own half that money, because he owns all that money until he gets it back out. But you are always having to pay that back. And like, I was thinking, every dime I make, I got to split with him for the rest of my life. Yeah. Like, so it would have been really easy, and it would have been probably a really easy couple years to just like take his money and like, pump the shop full of all kinds of stuff. But then I was like, man, I really don't want to do my business that way. And I called him. I was like, no, I can't. And he was like, are you insane?
Yeah, are you crazy? Yeah, I think most people would. I think, just not to interrupt you, but I think a lot of people would say the same thing. Who, they would be like, dude, that's a great business loan. Like, even if you didn't take all of it, right? Like, but I'd love to.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, there's not much else to it. I regretted it a couple times after that, because I was like, I got no money. If I'd have taken that money, I'd be able to pay my bills right now, And like, the first year here was really, 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 really hard, with all that happened and everything, 2020. But
yeah, you can't predict that.
I mean, I was like, I could be just coasting right now. I saw everybody else like taking a break, chilling for months and months,
going
just
to the
quarantining
beach.
at home, going to the beach, whatever, and like getting off work. And I'm like, man, I'm working my butt off here just because I'm not getting any of this money that everybody's talking about. So, anyways, but all that to say, he wasn't the first to offer me a lot of money to buy part of the business. Several times after that, people came to me and they're like, hey, I want to end on this. I want to split this with you. And I'm like, I started this business in 2010. Like all those years I put into selling online and then like selling in pop-ups and develop, all that work is me. That's my heart and soul. I'm the face of this company. I'm the one who's going to be, and they're just like a silent partner that's going to be pumping money into it. I just kind of figured like, I want this to be my own thing. I want this. This is so much a part of me. I can't split it with you. I just can't. It's not that I'm greedy. It's that you can't own a part of me. I can't, like, I want to give this to my kids one day. Like I named it after my son. Like I can't split that. I just, it's so personal to me and it's so special to me. I'm not willing to split it. I'm not willing to, split my wife, like I'm not willing to split my kids. Like I'm not willing to split this business because it's so much a part of my, like who I am. I think that kind of, that's why I run it the way I do and I work so hard at it, is because it's so much a part of who I am. You know what I mean? And so to me, the money doesn't make it successful. Right. People coming in here, like the other day I was in here and this guy came up, he said, I've been looking for this record since I was 17 years old. Changed my life. I've never seen it before. And I found it in here and I'm so excited and I'm going to listen to this 1,000 times. Like that's why that's success to me, is like, is being able to get people the records that they're looking for. And like, sure, sometimes, it's a quick sell and I never see those people again, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's return customers that we have a relationship with over time. So anyways, but that's to reinvest your money, is to, when you multiply things, sure, money's going back in the business, but it's all your money. Yeah. It's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And just to touch on something real quick, I think that the fact you were telling me earlier, when a bunch of people got their stimulus checks, they came here, they spent their money here.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. Like, I don't know. I think that's
what it's for, to stimulate the economy.
Right.
I think that's what it's for.
Yeah. But they could have gone. They could have gone anywhere else. They could have ordered their records online from anywhere else. But they chose to come here in person and spend their monny. And you can't buy that. You can't buy that. You can't you can't. No amount of marketing budget or anything. It's just solid hard work and consistency, and people not knowing that there's value. And frankly, there hasn't been a time I've come in here and not wanted to buy at least 5 records. It's like what you're offering is valuable, and I'm not one of your biggest customers, but I'm one of your biggest fans, and I've been following since you started it, and
always, I will say in every interview I've seen you in, you got that Noble Record shirt.
Dude, I'm repping it all the time, and not to mention, by the way, it's one of the comfiest. I have 4. They're all the comfiest shirts.
Link below.
Yeah, please, buy them. They're you won't regret it. Those shirts, I wear them all the time. Everybody who knows me sees me in those shirts more than anything else.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just a no-brainer to me. I'm not even trying. It's I put the shirt on, I'm oh, cool, I'm supporting them, but it's just it's actually, this shirt's super comfortable also. And
that's all I wear. I stopped buying shirts a couple years ago.
I was gonna say,
that's all I have.
If you ever go broke, you got clothes.
That's literally, I heard something the other day about how successful people don't, most successful people don't stress over what they wear. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every single day. I think Barack Obama had the same suit or something, but that's what they were talking about. And they were talking about all these different people that say, I have to make all these decisions every single day. I don't want to stress over what I'm going to wear. So that's my defense when people say I got no style or whatever. It's I have a whole drawer and more full of every single color Noble Record shirts. Most of them are black, but every single, and I just grab a shirt, put my pants on, go find some records. You know what I mean?
Think about how much time you probably have saved. That you have reinvested that time into your business. Yeah. Because you weren't sitting there wondering what you're gonna wear, or clothes shopping. You know what I mean? Just to put it literally, because I kind of feel that way too. I mean, it is quite literally like in the mornings, I don't really think about what I'm going to wear because when I wake up, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go, and I'm like, it's black jeans, it's my Vans, and it's a t-shirt, right? Or like a button up or whatever if I'm feeling fancy that day. But I'm already in it. Like I'm already on my phone, I'm already checking messages, I'm already looking for the next thing. I'm on Facebook Marketplace, I'm on Craigslist, wherever. Those are the freebies you get. That's not where I'm finding most of my stuff. But you know what I mean? Like
There's so many people on it. I never.
I'm jumping into it, and I can't afford to spend time wondering what I'm gonna wear.
Yeah.
So I really do.
I have a couple people that always comment like, "You wear the same crap every time I watch this video. You need to shave, you hippie." All this stuff. The only reason I have this beard, I don't have time to shave.
Well, it's like, well, you could also just, turn the video on and like not watch the video. You just listen.
Right.
If it's really bothering you.
No, but they watch every video and they comment on all my videos the same thing. So I'm like, why are you still watching?
Yeah, it's like too bad. So
is there anything else we were going to talk about? Like last thing I think we had talked about is like consistency. Hard work and consistency is like for me. I remember when they announced the lockdown. I thought like finally I can just rest. Like it's been
That's
like
how I felt.
the store had been open for 5 months, and the 2 months before that were like the hardest months of my life working to get this place open. So it's like 7 months of like non-stop work. Finally, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one's over me. Like I gotta just chill. And I was like, you know what? No. Number one, I'm broke and I can't. Number two, when you are working hard while everybody else is sleeping, you're getting ahead.
Yeah, you're getting ahead.
You're getting ahead. You did it. Did you not?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I did.
I did not take a day off.
No.
I was like, I'm going to do a YouTube video every single day. And like, because before the pandemic, I was at 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now I'm at 47 or 48 or something like that. But like, I got like 20,000 subscribers that first month because everyone was sitting at home watching YouTube, and it was right place, right time. But at the same time, like, trying to figure out ways to get ahead. Because like, if you work the same as everybody else in the world, you're all like just going with the flow of traffic. You know what I mean? So trying to find ways. Like I'm not an expert on it, but I throw a lot of crap to the wall and see what sticks. A couple of them have stuck. A lot of them haven't.
Man, that's really the thing, and it's something that I think that's something that could be taken away too, is because that word consistency, or the phrase being consistent, it can be applied in so many different ways, and one of those ways is constantly trying things. Like you gotta be willing to fail, because when you fail, you learn. You can still learn in other ways, but you really learn the most when something doesn't work. And I think as time goes on, I'm always relearning the value in that, because everybody just wants everything to go right and like basics, like nothing to go off without a hitch. But I crave learning experiences, because that's how you get better. It's how you like know what to do better, and like can like really carve your lane out for yourself, especially if you're doing something for yourself. But it's funny, I took a whole month off right when the pandemic started. Because I just didn't know what to do. I was like, and at that point it was still like it was something I was like consistent with, but I was like, man, like I think that I actually just need this time. It was like the first time I hadn't been doing a bunch of stuff in years. I was constantly touring. Like I think it was like one of the first springs I actually spent the entire spring in Nashville. I've lived there for like 10 years. And so that was eye-opening, right? I got to experience something else. But then like about a month in, I was like, all right, like let's go. Like
That's enough, yeah.
what's next? How am I going to, what can I do in this space? And that's about the time where like, you know, I started ordering more things offline. I started finding more resources online. I started, you know, I gained, just like you, I didn't gain that many followers, but I gained more followers because people are sitting at home, they're on their phones. And particularly what happened in my case with my audience is people were really getting their studios going.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't know when this is going to end.
Yeah.
And so how can we, you know,
still keep working, like still, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people like put out records, but they needed their equipment, and so I became a big source for that. And I also, just this is worth mentioning too, and it's been like more on the later side of like 2020, or honestly like this first quarter of the year, I started seeing like competitors.
Yeah.
What I would view as competitors pop up. And at first I didn't know what to do, because I was like, like they're doing something like really similar to me. I don't know. I started like becoming like, I wasn't insecure, but I was like wondering what was gonna happen, right? I was like, like basically how am I going to make sure that I don't lose my audience? I started like, like, oh no, like they're gonna start, and because I would go to these Instagram accounts and like I would say people follow me, a handful of them follow this account, and like they're liking the post, but they didn't have a lot of things that I offer, which is like these accounts, they weren't, you didn't see a name, you didn't see a person, you didn't see reasonable prices, you just saw like good gear, you didn't see like, and like they were just doing it differently. And that's the thing, is like, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, is people can try to copy what you what you do, but they got to put the work in. Like you don't get to this level, you don't get to any sort of like quote unquote successful level, even if you do like are successful in copying someone's model and what they're doing. If that's your game, whatever, you know, that's your thing, but you still got to put the work in. So I felt insulated a little bit, to where I'm like, hey, so, and specifically, I mean, like, especially when I first started the page, I had people reaching out to me, had some naysayers. I had a lot of supporters, but you always have some naysayers, and they're like, you know, man, you're just doing this, you're just doing that, or like, what's special about this page? Like, why are you taking a fee? And I'm like, dude, I'm hustling, like, because and especially in Nashville, there's a lot of people who buy and resell things, right? They'll like go to Craigslist, buy something, like put on Reverb, and sell it for more. That's a tried and true game. You can't knock anybody who's doing that.
Every store you go to does that. You can't, like, you know.
But it's always about the way that you do it, and the way that you go about it, and how you interact with people. And going back to what you were saying earlier, I don't need every last red cent, right? Because I've built a system that is just constantly feeding itself. So like, I'm not worried about like getting that $20 extra on something, because I got 4 things coming in the mail that are gonna like make up that margin. And I've built a system for myself, and I'm, you know, I have the knowledge, and I'm working in volume too. And, you know, I think those things are important. There's a lot of musicians, this is kind of what I'm saying, a lot of musicians who like try to do something like this, and they tend to not like see it all the way through, because they get lazy, they're inconsistent, they run out of money, or they buy things that don't sell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before we lose track of this rabbit trail here, what I've noticed, because I see a lot of people that try and copy things or whatever, when people try to copy what you're doing, it never works, ever, because they're not you. You formatted your business around your brain and how it works, and your strengths and your weaknesses, and your knowledge. And when they try to copy what you're doing, they don't have your brain to run it, so they can't sustain it.
Right.
You are successful when you do your thing, and you stay in your lane, and you do what you know. But when you copy somebody else, you're going to do that for 6 months tops, and you're quitting. like, because you're like, I don't get how he does it. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't copy what you do. I couldn't do it. There's no way, because it's your brain. But that's what I've seen. Like, there's been a couple times to where I've had people, you know, that are competitors of mine. Like, one time, turned someone into a really dear friend of mine, and like, whatever, you know. And then, like, you know, another time when I first opened the business, we didn't do new at all, and I had a guy came in here and he said, I work for this huge distributor. I'd never heard of them, haven't heard of them since, but there's like, we got this huge, like, we have a warehouse with thousands of new records in it, and I'd like to like get like a quarter of the business and like start pumping new records in here and all that stuff. And I was like, absolutely not. And the unit next door hadn't been rented yet, so it was vacant. And he's like, "How about this? I'm gonna open up a unit. I'm gonna open up a record store next door, and we're gonna put you out of business." I was like, "Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'll give you my landlord's number. Go ahead." And he was like a dead serious guy, and he kept calling me. He's like, "We're rolling with it. We're gonna be opening up this date and all this stuff." And I was sweating it a little bit, but then I was thinking, you know what? He can't put me out of business, because I'm going to work really hard, and people would just go to both stores and I'll still make money.
Yeah.
Like, he never did it.
Yeah.
He never grew legs to where he did it. He wanted to piggyback on me.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do they say? What's that story about the frog and the scorpion? I can't remember, but you know what I mean. Anyways, the frog swimming across the water, and the scorpion's on its back, and the frog swimming, and the scorpion, he knows the scorpion's not going to sting him, because he knows if the scorpion stings him, he dies.
Yeah. Wow.
But then the scorpion stings him because he's a scorpion, and they both die. I don't know how that fits here, but you know what I mean. Like, snakes are snakes. You gotta. Anyways, that's. But what I'm saying is, like, people can't mimic you and be you, because they're not you. They don't have your brain. Yeah. So come up with your own ideas. You know, save yourself the heartache and do your own thing, because that's where you're going to be happy. You're not going to be happy trying to be somebody else. But.
Yeah, because you'll get to, if you come up with your own lane, own idea, just like you're saying, like, it becomes so, if you choose not to copy someone else, then it becomes hard for someone else to copy you.
Yeah.
And then you can like, again, like, insulate yourself and guarantee some level of success in some way by committing to just doing your own thing, putting in that work consistently. Because that's the other part of it, is like, you can have a great idea, but if you like don't consistently contribute to that and push forward, then, you know, you might get to a point where it's like not viable anymore. You're not making, you know, you're not progressing. I was careful to say making money, because making money doesn't always mean that you're progressing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily, like, it can be correlated, but doesn't necessarily mean that, doesn't necessarily mean the same thing.
That's the indicator that you're doing good things. Like, that what you're doing is working, is that you're getting money. But, like, to build something that's sustainable, there's a lot more money. There's a lot more to it than the money. But, like, you know, when people ask all the time, like, people will send me a message on Instagram or something and say, hey, can you give me a shout out, or like whatever, you know, and I have a whole thing. I just like copy and paste from my notes, like all the things. Shout outs do not work. I do not do shout outs. Number one, because I have a following that is trusted, that what they're going to see from me is what they want. Yeah. They don't want to see me shouting out a bunch of Instagram pages that have 100 followers that aren't doing the hard work to get to where, you know, and I said, if you want to get a good following, post good stuff, be consistent, care about people, and that's it. Like, that's what I tell them. And they're like, well, I just don't get how I'm supposed to grow to be, you know, a business or like a page as big as yours or whatever. And I'm like, I started this page in 2012, and I have been consistently posting good stuff and like interacting with the community for like almost 10 years, like 9 years. And like, so, but you want it so quick that you're not willing to do that work, and you're like, screw it, I'll do something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, even if, so let's even say that you did what they wanted you to do. Just to paint a hypothetical. Let's say you did what they wanted you to do, which is basically give them followers and credibility.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even know what to do with it.
No.
Because they haven't done the work to build it. So like, when you don't have that hands-on experience, so to speak, you don't know you don't know what to do. Like you're just gonna squander it.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
I do shout out sometimes, but 100% of the time, never do it if people ask. I do it like for you. I'll do it for you because I like you and you're doing good stuff, and you do it for me because we're But like and other people that do things for me, or like I see value in their business that I think is gonna make them money for me to post about them, but it's also going to make the people that follow me like, hey, I'm glad I follow this guy because he's turning me on to stuff. You know what I mean? So it all goes back to caring about the community that you're serving and working with. And then, yeah.
And something else I like to mention, because you just brought up shouting out and stuff. Man, a major reason why I shout out your page often, and I believe in it so much, is because someone can, just like you're describing, someone can go to your page, someone can like look back and see what your hard work has amounted to. And I think that's more inspiring than anything, is to it's less about like in a broader sense, it's less about like what you're in particular doing. It's more about it can be done.
Yeah.
And I think that is
go scroll back to the bottom.
It's like there was a point where you didn't even have a store. Like
not that long ago I didn't have a store. It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, that's so wild because it's just it feels so established. And so I mean just really the point I want to make there is like that's a reason why I shout you out a lot. Other pages I shout out, and something that keeps me super motivated is being able to show other people what they can do if they have a good idea, they test it, they put in consistent work, and they're willing to invest their time, money, energy consistently. You really can create something that no one else is doing in your own lane. You don't have to like copy someone else to do that. You just got to be willing to put yourself out there and put in consistent work. And again, like a major reason why I do what I do is to motivate other people. And to like sort of like break some of these stigmas around like being independent and like going a different route. Starting your own business, doing something that you are passionate about, because we're told a lot that things we're passionate about aren't viable. They don't make us money. It's like that's just a straight up lie. That is a lie. If you're watching, is a lie, because people who tell you that are telling you that because they have certain insecurities about their lives or like what they've been able to do, and does not mean at all that it is true for you. It does not have any bearing. Someone else's failure does not have any bearing on your potential success.
Yeah, I see businesses all the time, and I'm like, that shouldn't be working, but it is because this guy works hard. This guy gets it. Like I see businesses all the time. Like, how is he paying rent? Like, how is this working? And like the people in this like shopping center, like there's a sub shop down here. There's this guy that's like 80 years old that makes subs, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, because on Saturday mornings I have a line past his shop, and he's like, he loves it because he's getting tons of people, but when they're buying subs, but like, he's like, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
You know, they all think I'm crazy, but like, you know, it's because like you have to be consistent, work really hard, and most people won't do that. And most people don't want to do that. And that's why some people fail and they say, I've tried it, I've been there, it's not going to work, screw it, go work a real job, you know, and like, you know, that's when, for me, I think it took me longer than most people to get my footing. Like, I mean, I worked odd jobs for years while I did this on the side, and I just happened to get fired at the right moment. when like, I mean, vinyl was already on the comeback anyways, but like 2020, when everybody was at home and they were like ordering turntables online to listen to records, like it blew up. Like I was at the right place at the right time, ready. You know what I mean? Like what they say, everyone says, oh, you're lucky because of this. And what I've always heard is luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And that is like super right.
Yeah.
It could have never materialized. I could have just been some weirdo that knew too much about records, but thank God it did. So that's luck. Preparation is opportunity. So I think that's a good stopping point.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the phone's still recording over there. That's it. Like, what? Oh, I forgot to do it. Anyway, so this is Nick. Go follow him at ByrdFinds, and you know,
Buy some gear.
buy some gear,
Hit
man.
me up. Check out the website, birdfinds.com. It's there.
Yeah. So, thank you.